For more, let's bring in our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl. And you spoke with the former president yesterday, Donald Trump.
I spoke to him early. Voice sounded weary, a little scratchy. He's got this unbelievably packed campaign schedule. But I have to say, although he told me that he thinks he's leading everywhere, by the way, he said he hadn't seen that New York Times Siena polls where it shows him trailing within the margin of error in 4 states. But he did acknowledge to me something I've never heard him acknowledge before, which is that I asked him, "Is there any way you could lose?" And he said, "Yeah, I guess you could lose. Bad things could happen." The other thing is he took issue with the notion that he's been off message, which some of his top advisors are where he's been all over the map in his speeches, all the negativity, not focusing on the core economic issues that they say he should be focused on. He calls it the weave, and he told me the weave got me elected president, and we saw it continue yesterday.
One thing that's pretty consistent over the last week, John, is we saw Donald Trump's message pretty dark, pretty pessimistic. At least in the last day, Kamala Harris coming out much more hopeful and optimistic. Fundamental tenet of modern American politics, the more hopeful, optimistic candidate wins. If it turns out that Trump pulls this out, it's really testing that.
Yeah, I mean, it tests so much of what we think we know about politics if Trump wins, both that in terms of the ground game. Look, this has been an intensely negative campaign all around. It's the end of democracy versus the end of our country as we know it. But Donald Trump has gone incredibly dark. I mean, even in ways that have frankly shocked me. I mean, when he said yesterday, invoked the idea of shooting through reporters, and he wouldn't mind that. I mean, we've reached a new level.
It really is something. We just heard John say it's not exactly what the campaign wants Donald Trump to be doing, but there is some strategy behind it, trying to drive out angry young men.
Absolutely, and this is where the former president actually has been really focused in the final days with his messaging. He's been appearing on a lot of these podcasts, really trying to energize infrequent voters, young males, to turn out and get out and vote. You know, George, I was talking to one Republican over the weekend, and they said, show me where you're campaigning in the final days, and I'll show you where you're concerned about. There is nowhere where Donald Trump is spending more time than North Carolina.
Surprised at that.
Yeah, it's the only battleground state where he is on defense. He won that state in 2020. Of course, you have a Republican gubernatorial candidate there that has been shrouded in controversy. Most of the counties that Donald Trump won in that state are rural counties that have been impacted by Hurricane Helene. I talked to Donald Trump a few days ago. He felt pretty confident about his chances there. But again, 3 stops over the weekend, another stop there today,
and
George.
Of course, we did see that New York Times poll. At least that one had Kamala Harris ahead there. Rachel, thanks very much. Rebecca?
Thank you too, John.